What's up guys, Noelle here. I'm experimenting with the camera a little closer to my face because usually I film really far away and then I look off to the side a lot. I'll probably still do that, but anyways, in today's video I'm going to be talking to you guys about everything you need to know about periods. And this is more aimed towards if you are a young girl and you are patiently or impatiently awaiting your first period. But if you're somebody who doesn't get periods and never will, or if you do get periods and you're just interested in what I have to say, welcome. But I'm just gonna say this, if you are grossed out by menstruation, I'm giving you 5 seconds to click away. Okay, they're gone now. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff that you probably don't know. I definitely didn't know before I got my period, and I'm just gonna share it with you guys so you kind of know better what that's kind of like and what kind of to expect and whatnot, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So I am 19 now and I got my first period when I was 13, actually 2 days before 8th grade. Not much to my first period story, more like I just got it while my mom wasn't home and I freaked out and had to call her to come home right away, and that was that. Yeah, it wasn't anything really like horrendous or bizarre or anything like that. It was just some mundane little period story, basically. But yeah, so I've been at this period thing a while, and Aunt Flo and I have had a pretty rocky relationship for those 6 years. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that. So first things first, I'm gonna address kind of the more common misconception is about the actual blood that comes out during your period. Now, this is the part that might be gross. If you have a blood phobia, just skip ahead to the timestamp, which I will put right there. But yeah, I've heard this from a lot of girls that get their, like when they get their first period. I didn't share in that grievance, but a lot of girls when they get their first period, the blood comes out brown and they thought they've pooped themselves, and yeah, it turns out it's their period. And there's like, why is it brown? Well, brown blood just means that it's coming out more slowly, it's having more time to be exposed to the oxygen, and the oxygen essentially turns it brown. It's chemistry. The blood is gonna be red, like if it's coming out a lot faster and in greater amounts. So if you're heavier flow, it's gonna be red. It can be any shade of red. It can be like dark red, brighter red, any red, basically, is normal, basically, yeah. Also, the consistency, like just what it's made up of and how it's gonna look like. So a lot of girls think, and myself included, I thought this when I was younger, that it's just blood, like the kind of blood that comes out when you get a paper cut or something like that. It's that plus a bunch of tissue and some mucus. So it comes out to be this like kind of thick consistency. So it's not liquid, it's more like, it's really kind of weird. It's a lot more than just blood. It's all the uterine lining, all that stuff, you know. Also blood clots, those can happen too. A lot of girls freak out over it. It's totally normal. It's nothing to worry about as long as they're not too big. I think like a quarter size or something like that. I don't even know, but they're normal. They're especially common if you have a really heavy flow. It just happens. It's something with science and stuff. Next thing I'm going to talk to you about is period symptoms, or PMS symptoms. They're kind of interchangeable with one another. So PMS is premenstrual syndrome. Usually it lasts about a week before your period starts, and it's just a collection of symptoms that like kind of signals to you that your period's gonna come. There's a bunch of symptoms that are associated with periods and PMS, but I'm gonna go over the main ones, which is cramps, moodiness, and cravings. Also breast tenderness, that can happen. Usually, I didn't start experiencing that until I'd had my period for about a year. It can hurt if anything touches your breasts, if they're bouncing up and down, if you're running, yeah, that can be pretty painful. It's caused by fluid retention. I just thought I'd mention that really quick. But anyways, so cramps. Girl. So cramps are caused by the uterus contracting, and it releases a chemical called prostaglandins, which help the uterus to contract, and it causes some pain. It's basically just so that the uterus can shed the lining. And cramps are different for everybody. Some girls experience no cramps at all. Some girls experience very mild cramps. Some girls experience very excruciating cramps. Which one you're gonna get, who knows? I don't know. But the ways that you can deal with them is you can take over-the-counter painkillers, so anything that has ibuprofen or acetaminophen as the active ingredient. I don't know if I pronounced acetaminophen right. Acetaminophen? Acetaminophen. Correct me in the comments below. So if it has one of those two active ingredients, then that would work. One might work for you, one might not. I personally found that anything with acetaminophen as the active ingredient doesn't really work for me, whereas anything with ibuprofen as the active ingredient does. But it's different for everybody. So you can take over-the-counter painkillers for cramps. I would just advise this one thing. Do not wait for your cramps to get really bad before you take a painkiller. So basically kind of the way cramps go is they'll usually start and they're kind of mild at first, and sometimes you might think like, oh, that's it, that's all I'm gonna get, cool, I can function, cool. But they can get worse, and then by the time an hour has passed, you're on the floor just like unable to move or breathe or do anything. You want to take those painkillers like right when you start feeling it, because if you wait until they get bad, then it won't work. So definitely as soon as you start feeling that little pain in your lower stomach, take that painkiller. Oh, and I forgot the pain areas. It can be in your lower stomach, your lower back, your thighs, or all three at the same time. Another thing that can help with cramps is heating pads. So you can buy like hot water bottles. There's like little sticky heat pads that you can like stick to your stomach and just walk around with them on. You can DIY them. What I kind of like to do is charge my laptop and use my laptop while it's charging. It gets it really hot, and I just put it on my stomach, and it usually dulls the pain. It doesn't, if you have really bad cramps, it won't get rid of it entirely, but it can dull it a little bit to a more bearable level. People say exercise helps with cramps. That's true for some girls, false for others. You can decide if that's true for you. I found that exercising when I have cramps, like it helps at first, and then as soon as I stop exercising, they come back with vengeance. So I don't know, it's up to you to kind of figure that out. But painkillers and heat pads, anything where you apply heat to your stomach can help with cramps. And then moodiness with your period. This can kind of manifest itself in a couple of ways. There's like irritability, where small things can get you a little snappy, and like these mood swings where you just get sad for no reason, or like you drop a spoon on the floor and you cry. That can happen. It's just because your hormones are all going crazy in there, and that just causes a lot of things to happen. Really a good way to deal with these emotions is to just let yourself feel them. If you try to fight them too hard, then it can make it a lot worse. So if you cry because you dropped a spoon on the floor, let yourself cry. It's nothing. It happens to pretty much all of us. So just let it, just roll with the waves. That said, being on your period or PMSing does not give you an excuse to be mean to people. Now, I mean, if you snap at somebody by accident, I mean, whatever, like just apologize and just tell them the situation. They'll most likely be understanding, but try to avoid that as much as possible, and don't just be mean to people and use your period as an excuse. You still have to be a good, decent human being on your period. Then, cravings. This is a fun one. So, a lot of times on your period, you'll crave, like, you might crave sweet things, or you might crave something salty and high in carbs, or whatever it might be, or you might crave something very specific. This happens. Again, it's the hormones. They just cause you to want a specific food right then and there. So, kind of a way to go about this, because you don't want to be stuffing your face with all the junk food, because that can make you feel worse. So if you're craving something sweet, try eating some fruit. That can help combat that. If you are specifically craving chocolate, that's a real thing. Try dark chocolate instead of the like milk chocolate or any kind of really sweet chocolate, because dark chocolate it's a little bit more healthy and a little more satisfying. So I have personally found that to be true for me. I enjoy eating dark chocolate a lot more. If you're craving something really salty or high in carbs, get something that's a little bit healthier that has that kind of thing, rather than reaching for the potato chip bag. I mean, if you want potato chips, it's okay to eat a few in moderation, just don't eat all the junk food. Chinese food. I say that you can never go wrong with Chinese food on your period. It satisfies the high carbs, the salty, sometimes the sweet. It's the perfect period comfort food if you like Chinese food. I love Chinese food and it's perfect for your period. So like, get you some lo mein from your local takeout store. It'll make you feel better. So I talked about the symptoms. Now I'm going to talk to you about when you should see a doctor about period related problems. Because there are things that should not be happening on your period that you would need to address with a doctor, and they can help you out with that. First of all, if you have a really, really heavy flow. Now, heavy flow is pretty subjective term. For some people, a heavy flow can be like having to change their super tampon every 6 hours because it leaked or whatever. For some people, a heavy flow is they have to change their super plus tampon every 3 hours or whatever it may be. It's a subjective term. Some people will have a different definition of heavy flow than others will, but the general rule of thumb is if you are soaking up a pad or bleeding through a tampon in less than 2 hours and you're having to change your pad or tampon more often than every 2 hours, then that's considered excessive and you should see a doctor about that. Also, if your periods routinely last for longer than 7 days. So the average length to have your period is 3 to 5 days. That's the average. It's also normal to have your period be as short as 2 days or as long as 7 days. If it is routinely longer than 7 days, then you should go see a doctor about that. Now, if you're first starting out on your periods may be irregular, and you might experience a 10-day period once in a while. One 10-day period is not a concern. If you have 3 10-day periods in a row, I would say definitely go see a doctor about that, because that's a little too much, especially if you're having a really heavy flow. If you go 90 days without having a period, that's also a reason to see a doctor. Again, if you're first starting out with periods, that might happen. It happened to me actually, but if you're routinely going 90 days without having a period, or like if it's been a really long time since you had a period, you should talk to your doctor about it. Because it could be nothing, but it could be something. You don't know. And then cramps. If your cramps are so bad that no painkiller, no heat pad helps, and you cannot get out of bed, you're missing school or work because they're so painful, and if they're causing you to throw up or pass out or both, then you should see a doctor about that. Yeah, some girls will experience cramps more painful than others, but if you're experiencing unbearable cramps and nothing helps them at all, and they're causing all kinds of issues, and you're missing out on stuff because of them, you should not have to be going through that. Talk to your doctor. And then this is one that people don't always address. Moodiness is normal, but if irritability is really just the smallest thing sending you into a rage, or if the sadness is crossing a line into full-on depression and you're having a lot of anxiety and it's starting to interfere with your performance at school or work, and it's interfering with your relationships, that could be signs of PMDD or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and that's a reason to talk to your doctor as well. I have PMDD, it sucks really badly. The bottom line is your period should never be interfering with things that you want to do, like to a great extent. It might be nuisance-y and you might be like, I don't want to run because I have cramps, but like if you literally cannot do the things that you do on a daily basis because of your period, that is a reason to see a doctor. That's kind of the general rule. Like, if it's really, really bothersome, see a doctor. And you might be wondering, what would a doctor do about this? The most common treatment for these kind of period problems is birth control pills. They can help regulate your periods, they can help minimize cramps, they can make your flow a lot lighter, they can minimize PMS or even get rid of it altogether. They can just make you feel a little better on your period. Your period won't be quite so excruciating. That's usually the most common thing a doctor will do to treat you for bad periods, basically. Birth control doesn't work for everybody. It might take some trial and error to find the right one. That's between you and your doctor though. There are other things. They might screen you for certain conditions like endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, what else? Uterine fibroids, other stuff. Ovarian cyst, those are stupid. I had one, it was stupid. But they might test you for other conditions. They might do blood work or whatever. But the most common thing they'll do is put you on birth control and see if that helps any. So yeah, that's usually what they'll do about it. But again, if you're having those problems, talk to your doctor and you can discuss a treatment plan that would like work with your kind of like personal needs. And then some general tips. That voice crack. I have vocal fry. I've been talking too much. But anyways, so track your period. Get one of those period tracker apps. The one I use is called Clue. I like it because the name and the app icon doesn't give away that it's a period tracker. But it's a really good app for period tracking, and it helps with, you can predict when you're gonna get your period. I mean, if your cycles are irregular, then you can't really do that, but if they are regular, then you can predict when you'll get your period and prepare accordingly. And it can also help you to know what's normal for you. So like, if something is off, then you'll be able to see it on the period tracker and you can discuss that with your doctor. So definitely track your period, especially because once you start getting periods, your doctor's probably gonna start asking you when was the first day of your last period. So if you have that down, then you can just check and, you know, be like, give them an exact date instead of being like, oh, sometime in April. So track your period, do it. Also, and this may seem like an obvious one, but I was shocked at how many people don't do this. Keep period products on you at all times, basically. Keep them in your locker, your backpack, your purse, whatever. Just have them on you because you never know when it could hit you. It could hit you at the least expected moment. And even if you're like far away from your period and you know it, having tampons or pads in your bag, if a friend needs them, then you can just give it to them, definitely. But yeah, have them in your bag, because if you get your period, you don't want to have nothing. I mean, then again, you can go to the nurse's office. The nurse will usually have that stuff. If not, ask a friend or somebody. Us girls are understanding. Like, well, if you ask for a tampon, even if I don't know you, I'll be like, oh yeah, sure. Like, we're all in this period game together. Like, almost everybody with a uterus deals with this, so just don't be afraid to ask anybody for that. Next tip is, that might be the last tip. Yeah, it's the last tip actually, is to, if you know you're about to get your period, like if you have a due date set on your phone for when you're supposed to get your period, wear a panty liner like a few days before. Like 5 days before is probably the safest bet, because your period can be up to 5 days early or 5 days late. It depends. But yeah, wearing that, it can help you avoid some leaks from starting your period unexpectedly. I would definitely very highly recommend doing that. It just would help a lot. So yeah, that was everything you need to know about periods. I hope you found this helpful, and let me know in the comments down below if there's anything I missed. The best one might get pinned. I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully this was helpful or interesting at least. If it was, make sure to leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are new here, and click on that bell so you get post notifications every time I upload and never miss anything from me again. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So have a good day and adios.
Bye.